Madowo, who's usually based in Kenya, who is here with us live on set in Los Angeles. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's very exciting.
Yeah, and it's a big day for Africa. We see the Pope literally has the power to pause a civil war, right? I mean, talk about the context here.
Only the Pope can do this. So the region where Pope Francis had this mass and peace meeting in the northwest of Cameroon has been ravaged by a war for nearly 10 years. It's known as the Anglophone crisis, and these two English-speaking regions of Cameroon are trying to secede from the rest of the French-speaking country. Cameroon, like many other African countries, is a colonial construct, and they feel marginalized and excluded from Cameroonian political, economic life, and they have been ravaged in this war where 6,000 people have died, nearly 500,000 people have been displaced. But for Pope Francis's visit, Pope Leo's visit, they paused it for 3 days. They declared a 3-day ceasefire so Christians could come to the meeting and see the Pope.
And they've
never done this before.
He brings everybody together, which is interesting. And he used that phrase, world is ravaged by tyrants. Who's he talking about?
Well, that could mean the leaders in Cameroon. It could mean the leaders here in the United States. The fact that Pope Francis chose these words, the world is ravaged by a handful of tyrants, and they wreak havoc around the world. Cameroon is led by Paul Biya, who's been president for 43 years.
Wow.
He just won re-election last year for another 7 years. It will bring him to 100. He's the world's oldest leader.
Yeah, he's 93.
He's 93.
And he won another 7-year term.
And the population of Cameroon is very young. A lot of them have only ever known Paul Biya as their leader. At the same time, obviously, Pope Francis has been not feuding with President Trump, but certainly the Trump administration has been feuding with him. And I think that's the top of mind for people watching this in Cameroon, but also around the world. And that message fits for both audiences.
I mean, because Catholicism is really growing in Africa. We heard the last time when they were considering who the next pope would be, there was some talk that maybe there would be an African pope.
There were a few front runners who are African cardinals.
Instead, we end up with an American pope. You yourself almost became a Catholic priest, which is
now my secret is out.
So how do you sort of feel about what's happening in Africa when it comes to the Catholic Church right now, and the way that the president here's comments have been interpreted there?
Catholicism is huge in Africa. It's nearly 300 million Catholics across the continent. It's one of actually it is the fastest growing Catholic region in the whole world. And Pope Leo has done some work there as cardinal, and that's why I started in Algeria. He's an Augustine priest, and that's the place where St. Augustine was born. And many Catholics, many Christians, I think, are on Pope Leo's side. The Pope is the vicar of Christ. He's a man of peace. His job is to be against war. That's sort of the whole Pope thing, is to not support a war. And I think it's not controversial for Christians in Africa or any other part of the world that the Pope is opposed to war. I don't think anybody would think it's a political statement. So he's got a lot of support from people he's speaking to, not just in Cameroon, but as he's traveling around Africa.
Obviously, Africa is a continent. There are 55 different countries. There are different takes there. But so what is the overall feeling about President Donald Trump on the continent of Africa?
President Trump is surprisingly much beloved in Africa, and people don't realize this. Part of the reason why President Trump is beloved in Africa is because he's got a strong opposition to abortion. People feel like he probably is not pro-LGBT rights. People are very religious in Africa. Many people are religious, either Christian or Muslim. And so they feel that President Trump represents those conservative values that they agree with. Obviously, President Trump has made some decisions that affect Africans moving to the United States. There's a lot of visa restrictions, the aid cuts that affected USAID. In Cameroon, where Pope Leo is right now, maybe 600,000 people might not have food in the next few months because of the aid cuts that affect USAID and foreign aid by the United States. But overall, I think when I go around Africa, people like President Trump. They like that he speaks his mind. And they remember him from The Apprentice.
Oh, interesting.
It was very well syndicated across Africa.
That's interesting. Speaking of well syndicated across Africa, your show, Inside Africa Voices, which we see, especially on the weekends on CNN International. You're here reporting some for that.
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about you and what we can expect for your reporting upcoming.
So, as you mentioned, I did try to become a priest, and that didn't work out. When I went to the Catholic seminary, which is basically high school, but essentially led by priests, we used to be told that many are called, but few are chosen. So, I guess I was not chosen. And that's why I do this
Your
now.
backup option was
This is
CNN
my backup option was CNN. It's so far, so good.
Yeah.
But if the Pope calls me, I'll go back. And the show African Voices highlights some of the innovation, the creativity, the art, the music, the sport coming from the continent. We do a lot of Africans in the diaspora. And so we're here speaking to people like Yvonne Orji, who's a brilliant comedian. We just interviewed a Ghanaian fashion designer who's building an African luxury brand here in Los Angeles. And some of that content airs all across CNN International. It's online. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's great talking to you. It's great to have you here. You'll be back in our next hour with more.
I live here now. You can't get rid of me.
Our newest correspondent. All right, Larry, thank you so much.